Well, let's talk to someone else who's probably not very happy today. Democrat strategist in the United States, Antjuan Seawright, who joins us. Good morning to you, Antjuan, and I suppose commiserations for your candidate.
Well, good morning, and if the results are true and when it is officially announced, we will congratulate President-elect Donald Trump on his victory.
I mean, that would be the normal thing. I mean, we've not heard from Kamala Harris, though. All of those activists waiting there at her watch party at her former university in Washington. I mean, desperate, to hear from the woman herself. Nowhere to be seen, not heard from yet. What's happened?
Well, it's because the results have not been officially called here in the United States.
No, but you know as well as I do that before the results are officially declared, it's often the case that the candidate concedes.
And it was said last night at her watch event that we will hear from her today, and so we look forward to hearing from Vice President Harris today.
Why do you think she lost so badly?
Different elections have different reasons for their coalitions and constituencies turning out for the candidate of choice. I think we have to check the hood of the results and see what the exit polls tells us. But what we can see so far is that rural America voted in groves for former President Trump. And other than that, I think it's too premature to say one way or another.
There has been a big disconnect, hasn't there, between the sort of elite, the metropolitan elites, the liberal progressives, the media, and in the Washington, and I would say even actually among a lot of the Republican old guard as well, and what the average American person thinks. The shock and the utter sort of bewilderment that we're seeing on the left in America, and of course here in the UK as well, kind of betrays that. It's very reminiscent of what happened in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, very reminiscent of what happened after the Brexit vote in 2016 here as well, and indeed actually after Boris Johnson's huge victory, 80 majority in 2019. Why do you think there is such a disconnect? Why is it so many in sort of the commentariat don't really know what ordinary people think?
Well, I don't think it's that. I think the polls have indicated one thing, and the results have indicated another. I think that there's certainly a difference in the science and the actual performance. I think that's certainly a lesson to be learned from this cycle. But there were a lot of people who voted for the former president, now president-elect, if the results are what they have been advertised to be, who have showed up differently with their vote than they have with the data they provided to those who are measuring the science.
Yeah, and we've had that issue here in the UK as well, whether it was Brexiteers, whether it's Conservative voters. We know in America as well, Trump supporters, that actually there are some who are very loud and proud, the MAGA hat-wearing people, but other people keep pretty quiet about it within their families, at work, publicly, or social media. They don't shout about it. The shy sort of right-wing voter is very much a thing. We've seen it in Europe as well, across the EU, where we've seen people voting to the right. Do you think the Democrats have lessons to learn, and what will those lessons be?
Well, two things happen in elections. You either win or you learn, and sometimes when you win, you do not learn. But I think the biggest lesson for Democrats will be to not take anything for granted, to not make assumptions about the electorate, and do not think that conventional measures of a successful potential candidacy, whether it's money, whether it's momentum, whether it's conversation, direct voter contact, or the overall indications of what the results are ultimately going to be. There's still some light of day, if you will, on the Democratic side. There's still an opportunity to have a pathway to the majority in the United States House of Representatives. So we'll see what the next few days hold for Democrats in this country.
Yeah, I mean, that's grasping at straws, though, isn't it? Isn't the fundamental issue?
No, it's not. No,
Okay,
no,
well,
it's not grasping the straws, because there are many races who have not been called in the United States House of Representatives, and so we're still waiting on those results.
Okay. At the end of the day, it was the candidate what lost it, wasn't it? Do you agree that actually Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate for the Democrats?
I do not agree that she was a terrible candidate. In fact, most people, reasonable people, would argue she was one of the most qualified persons to ever run for the presidency.
Who thinks that?
when you look at her resume, we've heard. Well, you don't live here, so I'm telling you.
Oh
what
no, I hate to tell you this, Antjuan. We actually do pay quite a lot of attention to American politics.
I'm telling you what Democrats and Republicans have said, both privately and public, here in the United States. I think the difference is the coalition that former President Trump has been able to put together versus the coalition that she was able to put together. The momentum obviously outweighed for the former president on his side when it came to the issues. We don't know what those measures are, but we assume that the economy and immigration were the two things that really drove the conversation.
I mean, I would have thought also the woke issues, again, I think that is a very big issue for an awful lot of, certainly parents, I think, as well. But you say, you know, she has great qualifications. She was so good that she was rejected by pretty much all Democrats back in 2020 as the Democrat candidate for presidency.
In this country, that's what the primary process is all about.
Yeah, exactly. But you're saying she was such a good candidate, but she was, when the Democrats got to have a say on to have her as a candidate, which they didn't. If you're going to have me on
the program, then shut up and let me speak, okay?
Antjuan, I was speaking and you interrupted me.
No. Well, if you're going to ask me a question,
no, I haven't finished asking you the question. You interrupted me.
If not, then I won't come on the program.
Antjuan, I was asking a question and you interrupted me, so I carried on talking. That's not me interrupting you.
I'm going to answer.
Can I ask the question? Can I ask the question and then you answer it? Would that be okay? I'm saying she was so bad as a Democrat candidate.
That's not a question. Just ask the question. The question
Antjuan,
would be what happened in the 2019 primary?
As a general rule, I don't enjoy men telling me how to speak, so I'd rather you stop doing that. As a general
rule, if you're a journalist and ask the question, don't give a statement.
If you allowed me to ask the question, I could finish.
No, you keep giving a statement. Ask me a question.
Right. Okay. Mr. English graduate here all of a sudden. Right. Okay. Antjuan. I'll start with an if that makes you happier. If she was such a good candidate in 2024, why was she rejected so fully in 2020 as the candidate when you say she's got such a great track record and she was an absolute failure, absent from the scenes as a vice president? Question mark.
Well, that's simply not true. Maybe understanding the role of the vice president will help you give context to the role she played in the Biden-Harris administration. And the primary gives us an opportunity to make a choice. The general election, you're given a choice. She did not win the primary. The country moved on. Our party moved on. She became the vice presidential nominee and then became the vice president of the United States.
Okay, I thank you very much. As a politics graduate, I do actually understand the American political system. Thank you for the little lesson. I appreciate that. She not only did not win it in 2020, she wasn't even in it for the first actual vote because she had so little support. She was considered such a poor candidate. She wasn't elected as the VP candidate. She was appointed. She wasn't elected as the presidential candidate.
That's not true.
She was chosen.
That's not true. She was elected as vice president of the United States the same way Mike Pence.
Candidate.
The same way Mike Pence was elected as vice president of the United States when he and Donald Trump were both elected together. They were on the ticket.
She was elected as the VP, yes, as part of the ticket, but she wasn't elected as the candidate. She was appointed.
Well, that's the same thing. She was elected. She was appointed as a candidate and elected.
The long winter nights must just fly by in the Seawright household. Antjuan, do you think that the Democrats are going to learn any lessons at all from this? Because if we're going to still see candidates being selected who are, as she was viewed in her one term in the Senate, as the most sort of far left radical candidate, if they're going to have someone who is appointed, Joe Biden was very blatant. He chose a short list of black women to choose from, that based on her skin colour and her genitals.
Well, that's not true. That's not
again,
true.
That is true. Do you think the Democrats are going to learn anything from this and move forward?
Did you speak to Joe Biden and ask him what was the reason he chose Kamala Harris to be his nominee?
He said he was only going to have a woman, and then it was narrowed down to it was going to be a black woman, and all the women on the shortlist were black women.
Did you speak to Joe Biden?
Oh, that's such a ridiculous question.
Okay, you didn't. Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, that's such a ridiculous. I mean, that's. Do you want to answer the question? I mean, since you feel very strongly about me asking you questions, do you want to answer the question I asked you?
Well, if you didn't speak to Joe Biden directly, then you can't assume who he chose to be his vice president.
It just happened there wasn't a single person who wasn't a black woman who was good enough to be his VP.
Well, do you know that? Because I didn't know.
No, I don't know. Obviously, he thought that because he didn't have a single person who wasn't a black woman on his shortlist.
I didn't know you were involved in the process.
Are you under the illusion that people have to actually be in the room or in America to understand or know anything about American politics? Because I think this is kind of the problem with Democrats, thinking that everyone else is stupid. Do you think that's working well for the Democrats? Because I don't think it is, because I've just looked at the election result. I think basically telling everyone else that if they don't agree with you or they don't say exactly the words you like, that they're just stupid. I'm not sure that that's the winning strategy.
Well, I didn't. Did you hear me say that?
I think it was implied.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you made an assumption. I understand. Thank you.
Oh, is there anything else you want to say?
I hope you have a great morning.
Oh, I'm having a much better morning than you.
Oh, you're making another assumption because I'm having a great morning.
You're having a great morning. You're a candidate. You're a Democrat strategist. I mean, I'm not in the room with you. I'm not in your head. I'm not in America. I'm going to guess that you're not happy about this result that you don't accept has actually happened yet.
I'm happy that millions of Americans had the opportunity to express themselves at the ballot box. And if Donald Trump prevails as the President of the United States, we're going to accept the results as Democrats, and we're going to move on to fight the next election, because in this country, we settle our differences and disputes at the ballot box. I'm proud as an American that millions of people gave their expressions at the ballot box.
Well, I agree with you on that. Thankfully, we got to a note of agreement. Antjuan Seawright, a Democrat strategist. Thank you for that.